So the first attribute of a dialogue is that it stands on its own. The word in a dialogue stands on its own. What does it mean? That if I am saying something, I don't have to bring you, say, I am saying this because my father told me this. I am saying this because my Guruji told me this. Or I am saying this because Karl Marx said this. I don't, the word does not need an external legitimizing factor in a dialogue. Right? You say what you have to say. We will read Karl Marx later. We will listen to your Guruji later on. We'll listen to what other people have to say later on. At this moment, we want to listen to you, and you stand there in your own right. The next aspect of the word is it has the capacity for self-correction in a dialogue. In a dialogue, you can withdraw your word. You can correct your word. In a negotiation, once the word is said, it is inscribed in cement and concrete. You will be held accountable for what you said, and you can't withdraw any word that you have said. Right? There's little scope for improvement and self-correction. In a dialogue, the word never dies. In a negotiation, the word is dead. You can kill the word. Right? The next attribute of the word is transparency. Of a dialogue is transparency. A dialogue cannot happen if you hide things. Right? If you hold back information. Right? If you try and monopolize the conversation, that is not the attribute of a dialogue. So first and most important attribute is transparency. Second, you are not hiding behind words. In a dialogue, you don't hide behind words. Third, the ethics of creative license is immense, only on one condition, that there should be no lies and it should be respectful to life. Creative license has limits, and the limit is no lies and respect for life. Fourth, there is a celebration of listening. In a dialogue, you enjoy listening. There is prime value on listening. There is a celebration of listening. Fifth, it is grounded in day-to-day settings and events of life. Sixth, it is cognizant of the physical circumstances and its limits and possibilities. Right? When you are in a dialogue, you are not talking in hot air, you're not talking in a bubble, you're talking to real life situations. Right? The other in a dialogue is real life, not the person. So the otherness of the person in dialogue is totally dissolved. It therefore values the social and cultural profiles of people, insofar as different people have different values. It draws upon languages spoken and heard. It does not privilege any one language over the other. Right? It won't say, okay, look, this is oral tradition and this has no evidence. This is a language which is not Sanskritic. No, nothing of that. All languages are equally valid. It looks for the unstated, unconscious intentions in the milieu of a situation. Right? It looks for styles of interaction, emotions and attitudes and disposition. It is very sensitive to all these things. It holds every voice and its authorship and its observation of the world. It orders and differentiates between things, views, and images. It critiques partiality and exclusion of all kinds. It gathers thick description of ideas, institutions, and activities. It attempts to see the here and now in larger perspective, in the larger context in which things are happening. It is not looking at the things as they're on the table, it is looking at the larger world in which the argument is being made. it is not fixated to categories, while at the same time it respects concepts and theories. Finally, it looks at the past and the future only insofar as it opens up the depth of the here and now. These are the attributes of a dialogue. Now, what I want to tell you is, the last thing I want to tell you is, then we can open up for discussion, that the attribute of a word in a dialogue has three qualities. I described to you the first, which is that it is charismatic. It has something in it that makes you abide by it, without necessity of an external authority. Second, it has the value of accumulating information. Right? It can therefore become part of a tradition. And thirdly, it is reasonable. Now, if each of these things are looked separately, they do not allow dialogue. The charismatic word is charismatic authority, according to Max Weber, and within charismatic authority, there is no dialogue. The fact that it accumulates is part of traditional authority, and in traditional authority, there is no dialogue. If it is based on evidence, then it is legal rational authority, and there are limits to dialogue there also. That which can't be provided evidence for is not to be presented for any discussion. Now, when these three attributes of a word which are present in these separate domains of knowledge combine together, they generate a situation of a dialogue. Now, what is the advantage of these features? We can now make an assessment of social structures in terms of how many of these attributes can they accommodate. And therefore, we have a better understanding of how to approach these social structures in terms of the possibility of a dialogue. Right? In a family, let's take two institutions, family, university, and the state. The first thing that we know is in all these three institutions, the level of transparency varies. You have to be transparent, but there are rules and regulations of what you can't share. In other words, the dualism between the public and the private is very, very strong in all these institutions. In a dialogue, you try and dissolve this separation between the public and the private. Only then can a dialogue happen. If you hide something from me, then I can't dialogue with you. But if I share something with you, then I must be assured that this sharing will not be violated, this sharing will not be misused, and it will be used for the purposes of a dialogue. Family. Families there is no transparency in a family. Families change the moment you introduce transparency in a family. The transparency in a family breaks authority structures. When the father's life and the daughter's life and the brother's life and the sister's life are openly and candidly available to each other, that candid sharing is itself a social constraint. In other words, that which you can't share, you will not do. Right? But if you are not transparent, then you know you can do anything, because that which you don't want to share will not be shared. So here is a need for us to look at these features of a dialogue a little more intensely, in order that we may understand social structures for the propensity to dialogue.